What's up, everybody? Garrett back here. What I want to talk about today is my top 10 favorite movies of 1984. So if you guys have been following, Ken from Mid-Level Media actually put out a little contest this month talking about all things 1984. 1984 is jam-packed with great movies, ones that were really big in the box office, but also a lot of hidden gems, and really does make this one of my favorite years in the 80s. So everybody's been doing their top 10 videos of 1984 and the movies that they like the best. Now I want to give you my list and let me know if there's movies in here you haven't seen. Do you agree with what I'm saying? As you'll see here, my taste is a little bit different than others, so hopefully you can grab some good nuggets in here of movies maybe you haven't checked out. Right, so going through this list, it was actually really difficult for me. I think I was able to grab my top 8 really easy and then try to kind of figure out how I was going to organize them and rank them. I think 9 and 10 for me were a little bit tougher. There was a lot of movies that could have fit in these two slots, but I think I narrowed it down to the two I think, in my opinion, I like the best. So, I mean, again, excluded from this list, I mean, you have things like Red Dawn, Firestarter, 16 Candles, Footloose, and one that Vinegar Syndrome just announced, Cloak and Dagger. All right, so let's start at my number 10. Now, my number 10 actually fits in a weird category. Someone could say it's comedy, some could say it's sci-fi, some could say it's horror, but that is Night of the Comet. So this is the Blu-ray that was released by Scream Factory a couple of years ago in that special collector's edition. Now, man, this movie is super fun. I'm not sure if you guys have seen this, but basically it's almost like the end of the world type kind of movie that we've kind of seen many times before. But what I like about this is it almost takes like a teen comedy aspect and blends it with some sci-fi and horror. Now, again, the music's great, the characters are great. You have Catherine Mary Stewart, Kelly Maroney, who plays a fantastic role in this. So if you guys haven't seen Night of the Comet, I recommend tracking this thing down and checking it out. All right, the next one I grabbed is a classic to me. Man, I love this movie. I've always loved this movie, and every time I watch it, it just makes me want to get up and dance, and that is 1984's Breakin with Lucinda Dickey. Now, speaking of Lucinda Dickey, another great movie from 1984 that almost made my list was Ninja 3. So again, if you haven't seen that, I know Scream Factory did put that out, and it's definitely one to check out. But she also did Breakin, which she's mostly known for. And man, this movie is so much fun. I mean, you've got real breakdances in here, like Boogaloo Shrimp and Shabba-Doo, rest in peace. Man, this is awesome. You actually even have like a young Jean-Claude Van Damme in the background of one of these. And this is just a super fun movie. It's basically one of those 80s movies that always has a theme, right? Like we have movies like Rad, which is about bikes, and Rocky, which is about boxing, and this is about breakdancing. So something big in the 80s was just that hip-hop culture, that urban culture, and breakdancing. And man, I love this movie. This is awesome. The music is so great, and man, it's just a fun movie. So if you guys haven't checked out Breakin', I recommend checking this thing out. It should be streaming, so man, I would definitely check out Breakin' for my number 9. All right, this is where it gets real tough now. These are all movies that I absolutely love, so it was really hard for me to kind of rank these. I'm going to start out with the first one, which is my number 8, Friday the 13th, The Final Chapter. Now, I think at the end of the day, Final Chapter to me is like one of the perfect slasher movies. Man, I just absolutely love this movie. It's probably my favorite Friday the 13th movie, and I know it is one of the fan favorites among the series. Man, they just do everything right here. You've got the young Corey Feldman in here, great cast. They're very likable characters. I think Jason in this is just one of the best. The effects in this is so good. And man, I've always loved The Final Chapter, so it was really hard for me to put this in my number 8 spot. But you're going to have to see what I have coming up next. All right, number 7 is another horror movie, and that is A Nightmare on Elm Street, the original one. I have the VHS here just because, again, I was going to bring the Blu-ray set out, but I hate that Blu-ray set. And until we get a Blu-ray set that we deserve or a 4K set, my VHS will do just fine. I do have it on DVD, but it doesn't have this cool cover art here, so I wanted to kind of display this because this is the iconic image here. Now, A Nightmare on Elm Street is a classic movie from the 80s, horror movie. You've got the introduction of Freddy Krueger here. Man, there's not much I can say about this. It's such a great horror movie. The effects are great. The characters are great. Man, Freddy Krueger from this one until about part 3 is super scary here. Man, I love Nightmare on Elm Street, so that is taking my number 7 spot in this list. All right, so I'm sure you're saying, what could be above Nightmare on Elm Street? And again, I wouldn't say that in most lists, this is going to be above Nightmare on Elm Street or even Friday 4. But speaking of street, number 6, Savage Streets. Now, if you can see behind me right here, I have a Savage Streets one-sheet signed by Linda Blair. Man, I love this movie. I've always loved this movie. I don't know how you would categorize this. Maybe like a revenge flick. Street noir, I've heard people say before. Man, it's just a great movie. It's very 80s. It's about a gang, and Linda Blair is getting revenge on them for what they did to her sister. Now, her sister here is played by Linnea Quigley. So again, there is some people in here that you guys know, but this might be one that not many people have seen out there. So definitely try to track this down. For a long time, this movie was very hard to find on DVD. But once one company came out, it started coming out a lot. So I think it already has like maybe 2 or 3 Blu-rays already. So it's definitely one that I think is going to be easy accessible. And I think we might see this pop up in 4K sometime soon, probably by someone like Kino or Code Red or something like that. But Savage Streets with Linda Blair is number 6 on my list. Now, number 5 is a movie that not many people know, and I've been praising this movie up and down. When Ken announced that he was doing this 1984 month, I kept telling everybody, you gotta check this out, you gotta check this out. Nobody ever talks about this movie. I absolutely love this movie. It's got an all-star cast. It was Corey Haim's first movie. That is Firstborn. Now, I did a more in-depth, really spoiler-heavy review on Rad Recommendations episode 1. So if you scroll through my videos, my first Rad Recommendations episode was about Firstborn. And man, I absolutely love this movie. It's like a drama thriller. There's action in here. It's just amazing. It's basically about a mother who is a single mother, recently divorced. She has 2 kids, Corey Haim and Chris Collette. And she's trying to take care of them on her own. She finally meets this guy that she really likes, played by Peter Weller. And man, the kids just think that there's something not right about this guy. And this story is basically unraveling, and we're trying to see, is this guy a real good guy or is he not? Now, man, I don't want to give too much away, but this was put out by Olive Films, and I still think it is available on Blu-ray, which I'm very surprised because, again, I don't think this had a DVD release. I think it went right from VHS to Blu-ray. I could be wrong, but man, I would definitely pick this one up because I'm very surprised it's still in print. So guys, I'm going to champion this one more time. Firstborn makes my number 5 on the top 10 of my favorite movies of 1984. All right, so that about does it as far as maybe a little bit more obscure movies that maybe you guys haven't heard about. My top 4 are just heavy hitters, big bangers, but movies that I absolutely love and will always love and have always loved. And number 4 on my list is The Terminator with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Man, The Terminator is such a great movie. Man, I love Arnold. He was somebody growing up that I loved everything he did. Man, I remember seeing things in the theater like Last Action Hero, Kindergarten Cop. Like, I was all about Arnold. Even Conan, which is also another movie, I think The Destroyer from 1984, that did not make my list, but I absolutely love it. And The Terminator, I'm going to tell you right now, I think this is the best Terminator. This is like a sci-fi slasher mixed with action, and man, this is such a great movie. And I know Terminator 2 gets all the love, and as a kid, I really did like Terminator 2 the best, but as an adult, I love Terminator even more. So, guys, I know you know this movie, The Terminator, 1984 with Arnold Schwarzenegger, James Cameron movie. If you haven't seen this in a while, I definitely recommend checking this thing out. All right, we move on to number 3. Number 3 is a Steven Spielberg movie, which also features a young Corey Feldman, and that is Gremlins. So man, as you look over here, look, I've got a Gremlins poster up here signed by a lot of the cast from Gremlins here, and I have a little Gremlin stripe over there. I absolutely love Gremlins. I've always loved Gremlins. It was one of those movies that was a gateway for me to get into the horror genre as a kid. I loved this movie growing up. Gizmo was everywhere. I had him on lunchboxes and on folders and stuff like that. So man, Gremlins is such a great movie. It mixes horror and comedy. Man, I absolutely love it. This is the 4K Steelbook, and it does look really good in my opinion. So guys, Gremlins is just one of those movies that I just feel like does everything right. The tone is good. There's enough comedy. There's enough horror. It was actually marketed as a family film, but man, this thing gets scary at times. And I remember a lot of kids being afraid of this when they went to see it in the theater for the first time. So man, I'm sure you guys know about this one, but Gremlins is my third favorite movie of 1984. All right, so I know what you're saying. What could be more? What else is there? There's two left. What could it be? Well, my number two, Ghostbusters. Another one that I just grew up with. Ghostbusters. We had this on VHS. We watched it so much that we actually ruined the tape and we had to get another one. Man, Ghostbusters is such a great movie. Again, it's a comedy, but it's got some horror elements to it. Now, this was another gateway movie for me growing up where it was like, hey, I really like this scary stuff, like Gremlins and Ghostbusters. Like, these scary elements in these movies really, really attracted me. And that's what I think was definitely a gateway for me getting into more horror-based movies growing up. So man, Ghostbusters, everybody must know it. This is my number two in 1984. All right, so if it's no shock at this point, what is my favorite movie of 1984? You guessed it, The Karate Kid. Now, The Karate Kid, man, like Gremlins and Ghostbusters are better movies overall, but The Karate Kid to me was just something that I absolutely obsessed over as a kid. And I had the toys and the same thing, the video games, there was a cartoon, like they took this and ran with it. And I remember seeing part 2 and 3 in the theaters after I rented this thing so many times growing up. So man, The Karate Kid is something that I watched numerous times as a kid. I've watched all the time as an adult. Man, I at least watch this thing once a year. Man, The Karate Kid to me is just perfect. This is my favorite movie of 1984. And if you go back in my videos, you'll see it because I do a lot of Karate Kid related stuff. A lot of stuff in my collection is Karate Kid based. I love Cobra Kai. And man, The Karate Kid to me is one of my favorite movies of all time. And it's my number one in 1984. All right, guys, thank you so much. I wanted to give my contribution to this 1984 month by Mid-Level Media. Hopefully you guys like my list. Let me know if there's ones that you have not seen on this list. Let me know if you agree with some of that are on my list, or maybe there was some that I definitely missed that you think should have been on this list. So leave that down in the comments below. If you are not subscribed to this channel, please do that. Make sure to like this video so more people see it, and I appreciate you guys checking this out. This is Garrett at Born2beRad, and like always, stay